Hi everyone, and happy Friday! Today is Friday, guys. How many of y'all were screaming to the top of your lungs, TGIF? I know I surely was, because today is Friday, which means I have the whole weekend with my husband and my kiddos. And so this is a very just good time for me when Friday hits. It's also, the time when during the school week, we're able to put down our books and put down our laptops and just really focus and reconcentrate ourselves and realign ourselves, right? And fortunately, this week we had spring break, so we didn't really have to do a whole lot of work. Hi, Coach Play. That is my husband with an I, American Sign Language, and not a Y, an I. And he is a nutritionist and personal fitness instructor. Any questions that you would have that pertain to fitness, motivation, coaching, lifestyle changes, nutrition, definitely call him. Give him, DM him. I say call because I'm kind of old school, but give him a DM. I have an amazing guest today, and I'm so glad that you guys are joining me. If you see this on replay, if you're joining in right now even, I just want to encourage you guys to get your pens out, get your papers out. I have today L. Oliver Edmonds with me, and I am excited about what she's going to be talking about. She's an entrepreneur, speaker, transformational coach, author, storyteller, and play enthusiast. So without further ado, I'm going to bring her into our conversation because she's right here, right now, ready to join. So we can. Okay, she should be clicking in real soon. Let's do it again. We're going to go live again. There we go. Everything's always so different with Instagram. It's like you press this button last week and it works. You press the same button on this week and it doesn't work. And it's okay. I'm not going to complain at all. All right, so we're just going to kind of let Instagram send over this invite. We're both trying to send the invite through. So I hope you guys are having an amazing day. A little bit of information about L. Oliver Edmonds. She has an amazing page where she talks about vision boards, and she talks about being able to manifest your dreams. She talks about the importance of play, and she does a lot of programs to help you reset your mind and really refocus your perspective. And it's really what drew me to her and drew me to her work. Actually, she ended up liking one of my videos, and then I went on her page, and from there, we've just been, dialoguing back and forth. Hi. Hello, how are you?
I'm great. Success. I'm glad I'm not the only one who Instagram challenges.
No, right? I have lives where I've had to actually stop and then, come back on the platform again in order to get everything to reset. I think if they're constantly changing up things, so it's not really us having issues, it's, the program. I blame them.
I blame them.
Exactly. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, gorgeous?
I'm doing good too, beautiful. Thank you so much. Oh, man, this is literally our first time talking face to face. Well, virtually. But I feel like we already have been speaking. And that's what I was talking about with you, that we've been communicating through DMs and communicating through comments and stuff. But you just have such an amazing presence and your page. I just really do enjoy it.
Thank you. I'm glad that you do. Just trying to speak to what's going on in people's lives right now. There's so many of us feeling the same way. So that's why I'm really happy to be here with you today and talk about manifest play, because it's so important.
Yes. Yes. And I was sharing with them briefly that on your page you talk about vision boards and you talk about reprogramming your mindset and giving and sharing a different perspective of how we see things. I was sharing with my kids actually today when you talked about the plot twist, because it just, I love story. I'm a story writer. I'm a storyteller. went to school for, and even before going to school, I already wrote. So like writing is just in me. And when you said plot twist, you gave such a different perspective as far as it doesn't like you always think of plot twist as like, you know, dun, 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 something really bad that takes place.
Right.
But then you were like, just hold fast to your dreams. And I love that because it took me back to Langston Hughes. I was like, yes. If you hold fast, you know, just hold fast to your dreams, keep holding on to it, even when it's evolving, that there can be this plot twist that takes place, and just how, you know, everything in the world and is really working for you and not against you, and that like in that instant things can change, but you've been holding on to it for years, but in that one instant, how many, you know, how everything can just line up.
Exactly. Exactly. It's so true. And we take it, we think that there's like a deadline for our dreams, and that it's kind of a siloed, it's something siloed, and it's fluid. And I think when I started playing with that idea, it's like, yeah, it's fluid. And there might be a through line, you know, another familiar, I'm a writer too, so you know, that through line from early on to even now, it's like, it's there because it's calling for you.
Yeah.
You're supposed to bring it forth.
Yes, yes. So we talk about being adults, and of course, like this conversation is so dear to my heart, especially me knowing briefly, you know, your background and what you do occupationally. It just connects with me. And you guys have to go on her page to find out why I say that, because it also will connect with you. And then when you shared with me your fun fact, I was like, oh my gosh, like it just touched my heart. But I say this all because as adults, we feel very stifled. We have a lot of responsibilities. And we a lot of times didn't realize that entering into adulthood would come with so much baggage and so many decisions to be made. So it also becomes difficult to figure out, like, how do I fit play in? And so I really want us to focus on and concentrate and talk about the importance of play. You're also a play enthusiast. And so I just wanted to hear your perspective on it as far as why this is important and why we should do it, and even how to manifest it.
It's so important, and I, not to kind of like call out men, but men know how to play. You know, they can go and play basketball. They will go and golf, what have you. And so they know how to make that time. Whereas as women, we're so busy balancing so many other things, those burdens and responsibilities that you mentioned. We make sure that our kids are set up to play. We set up play dates, and we do all of these things to ensure that they have that outlet, and we overlook it in ourselves. And it's really important to, you know, it doesn't have to be recess, you know, running around and just, you know, running amok, but we need to have that inner expression that, and have a way, an outlet for it. We're not just here to pay bills and, okay, make sure everybody else's priorities are taken care of, and then, you know, we're just sitting over here, you know, like, I'll just watch you have fun. It might be, as you said, manifesting it. We might, as women, have to make a conscious effort to schedule it in, and I'm a huge proponent of creating me time for women. We schedule everyone else's activities, and we put ourselves dead last. We're burnt out, tired, frustrated, exhausted, because we don't have that outlet for ourselves. So, and it's defining what play looks like for you. Yeah. You know, one person's play may not work, but it's like, what does play look like for you? What is that moment, that time frame that you can just express yourself and be free, be authentic, and be vulnerable? And going back to that, if you recall as a kid running out the door to go play at recess, and it was just this liberating, free feeling, like, for X amount of time, I get to do this. And so it's really finding what that is, what that play looks like for you. It might be sitting in a coffee shop playing a Sudoku puzzle. That might be just a creative outlet. It might be doing an art class. It doesn't have to be play doesn't have to be physical, but it should be allow you to have some creative expression, to blow off steam, to really change your frame of mind from the day-to-day hustle to something that you find freeing and liberating.
Yes, yes. I fully agree with you on so many levels. And I even feel that as women and as moms, and not everyone does this, but we can actually kind of push our men to go play even.
Yeah.
And that, I don't think, some people, may do it because they want to get their husbands out of their hair, or their partner out of their hair. It could be just also that we prioritize ourselves so low that we feel like, hey, yeah, you go ahead and enjoy yourself. And then we don't really think about what we need to do until we're extremely overwhelmed and burdened. Now, in our case, my husband and I, we have 10 kids, so we're kind of like giving each other permission is like
it's like
it's
a negotiation.
You're still on call. Yeah, you're on call.
Yeah, so your playtime might be, it's like, okay, what does play look like here?
And then you're like crunching it all in, but you still need it. Like I can literally feel whenever I'm like, I need to do something. I need to be able to, I need to draw.
Yeah.
I need to write. Like, even if I'm not able to take any photos right then, as far as like posing my dolls and, actually, playing with them and getting them all ready for their photos. If I don't have the time for that, it's like, I need to at least be thinking of storyline.
Right.
I need to be thinking of what I'm going to be writing, because I'm also an indie author. What am I writing next? What am I doing right here? Doing those things kind of keeps me in that play mindset. And then I feel better. I don't feel as agitated. I don't feel as stressed out. I don't feel as overwhelmed or anxious. But when I don't have that time, that's when I know I'm like, oh, goodness.
You're so right, because it's like having that time, that unstructured time, it's such a release, and it's a relief, and it's having that moment of just, this being carefree.
Yes.
And and it's being present. And I think that we're so challenged to structure every moment of our day that we don't even consider the downtime and that balance that it creates for us. It's healthy.
Yeah.
When you, like you're saying, not having that time to just think creatively, and it's just, okay, everything's ticking off and pinging and boom, 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 got it done, and then laying in bed exhausted, and then your brain goes, hey, here's 5 more things you forgot about, by the way.
I listened to, I think it was someone on like an Instagram skit that a mom did, and she said her brain was like a computer with open files, like all these little open tabs, and then she was like listing off all the tabs. Yes, and I was like, that's me. Like, I always have like these open tabs, and you wake up in the morning and you got these open tabs, and it's so hard. It's easy to be like, oh, just shut it all down, but the reality is different.
It is. So my coaching clients, I suggest to them to take themselves on a date. And of all the assignments that I give my coaching clients, and I work with women who are over 40, sometimes they're starting up a business, they're looking to reinvent themselves after a career transition, a life transition. And the one assignment that I give that I always get pushback is, take yourself on a date. And they're like, what? Why? Wait, why are you telling me? Like, go get yourself dressed up. Even if you sit in a coffee shop, even if you're just reading a book, but take yourself into a different environment and just sit, journal, people watch, but take yourself on a date. And they're like, okay, well, what else could I do? No, that is what you can do. But we don't make that time for ourselves, and we give our time to everyone else, and it seems such a strange phenomenon to make time and prioritize our time and to do nothing. Do nothing. It's not just a guilty pleasure. It's just guilt. Like, what am I going to do while I'm sitting there? Whatever you would like. Drink coffee, don't drink coffee, order tea, whatever. But it's just about you decompressing, and this is not like to sit and pay your bills. It's just to chill. And it's such a challenge that we are so used to accommodating everyone else, being there, supporting, cheering on, that when we just say take 30 minutes of downtime, it's like, can I do that?
And I feel like it's really society based, where we feel like we have to accomplish something, we have to be doing something. We're very success oriented. We look at other cultures, and some cultures are also very success oriented. You better not come in this house saying you're going to be an artist. You better say that you're going to be an attorney or a doctor, something of that nature, a judge, but not an artist or anything of that nature. So we're not the only culture who has that going on. But in our Western culture, it is very dominated by success, and you have to be busy and look busy and keep your mind busy. And I believe that so many of us are really attracted to individuals like Bob Ross, who was a phenomenal painter, but he had this calm voice, and he took his time and he did his art. And he's had critics on how he did things, and then he's had a lot of us that were like, yes, yes, yes. In fact, he helped inspire me with this particular channel as far as anyone can write, and understanding that no matter where your skill level is, anyone can do it. Because he was like, no matter what level painting you are at, you can do it.
You can do it.
And we were attracted to it because he wasn't like pounding us about being busy and being successful. He was just about release. And I believe we need to carry that attitude into our play life.
I agree. And that with that Bob Ross analogy, he met everyone where they were at. You were painting to paint and as expression. You weren't painting to become the next Picasso. You weren't, there wasn't this other bigger goal. It was just making the best puffy clouds that you can. And it's just like, oh, that's an option. I didn't realize I could just make a puffy cloud. It wasn't about like, is this going to be on display at the Louvre or something? It was being present in that moment. And I believe that we're so accustomed to and I've done it too. You tick off the box. Okay, I got it done. And I encourage my clients to celebrate their wins. Don't just tick off the boxes and then turn the page and now write a new list. Stop and look at what you accomplished. Celebrate all of those little wins. Celebrate the big wins. Celebrate that I showed up for myself when I was tired. I showed up when I was frustrated. I did the thing. But we're so quick to turn the page. I caught myself, this was years ago, and there was a phrase I would say at the end of the day, oh, I got a lot accomplished today. Why was the day about accomplishing? Why wasn't it just about me enjoying the day? But I was measuring my success of the day based on what I got done. Oh, I got a lot accomplished. It's like, and who am I reporting that to?
Well, we've spent so many years in school, and I believe you get like this institutionalized thinking process, whereas like I have to get so much work done so I can get the grades that I'm supposed to get, and then you have this invisible competition going on. Even though you have your classmates and you guys are friends, or you don't get along with this person, whatever the case is, as well as your human relationships, you also have this, I got to be better than you. I have to make better grades than you. And then don't even bring up, trying to be a teacher's pet, because if you have some teachers that have teacher's pet, now it's like I gotta kiss up to her. I want her to like me more. Or, if it's a male teacher, I want him to like me more than you. So we carry that same attitude in life, period. We carry it in the workplace. And then, like, if you're an entrepreneur, I believe that it even becomes harder because you don't really have anyone to try to get the approval from. So then you're even more critical on yourself, because who's going to say I'm doing good? Exactly. Who's going to say I need to do more?
Exactly. You're right. And I agree 100%. That whole energy that we got in elementary school and beyond, it does carry with us. And you being a writer probably experienced anytime that I remember I was a reader and I kind of knew way early on I wanted to be a writer. And, so that writers and creatives tend to operate a little bit differently. We stare out the window and we would get in trouble for that. Pay attention, no daydreaming. And it's like for a creative, that's what we do. We stop and we stare, we look around the world, and it's like, what's going on and how would I describe that? And that aspect is shut out. We're not encouraged to do that. We don't, it's like kids that do that, it's like, oh, we have to reprimand them. They're not following the program.
Yes.
And so, and I think that's where that guilt comes from too, is when we do slow down and just want to observe the world around us. It's like, oh, I shouldn't be doing that. So it's that whole play balance. It's an outlet. It's an expression. It's exploration. It's curiosity. And we need to develop that and not lose it. Like, develop it in our children, encourage it in our kids, and as adults, reconnect with that.
Yes, yes. And I'm glad that you said that, because, you know, one of the things that play does is that it does connect you to your inner child.
Yeah.
But if you've been, you know, told not to daydream, not to stare out the window, not to live in your imagination, that can really shut down your inner child.
Yeah.
So how would, and you know, how can I form this question? For someone who's been told their majority of their childhood, you know, grow up, stop daydreaming, you need to really be more responsible. How do they get to a place where they can, as an adult, connect to that inner child? Because the inner child has been pretty much shamed.
Exactly. It's about, it's really going to take stepping outside the comfort zone, really listening to that inner voice and following it, and not squashing it down and stuffing it down. And that's, you know, responsible people don't do these types of things. But, you know, we don't just go and stare, or, you know, go look at the mountains. No, it's like, if it's calling to you, and if that's what calms you and that's where you find peace, if drawing, if making puffy clouds, that inner expression that calls you, heed it. Don't stuff it away, but it's giving that permission, giving yourself permission to explore that and be curious and develop it. It's like a muscle, and the more that you develop it, the more that you flex it, the more time you lean into it, it just starts to get bigger. And you'll find that, for me, as a creative, solving problems, you know, it's like looking at things differently. It allows that space for, all right, what are the possibilities here?
Yes, yes. I agree with you 100% on that. This morning when I got up, because I've been working on a diorama and just was really stuck on what I was going to do. I knew I didn't really want to start off from scratch, and I ended up building it from scratch. I went on my Froggy Stuffs page, and I was looking at stuff and just got really inspired because I was stuck.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know, I usually in the morning, I get up, make my husband's coffee, get him ready, you know, get his lunch and stuff ready for work. And this morning I was like, you know what? I feel inspired. I'm going to go ahead, work on this diorama, and then get to the coffee. And I did. I got to the coffee, and kids already helped me out with the lunch like the night before, so that really did help with preparing lunch for the day. But I needed that, because then it helped me later on to where we were able to do like 3 experiments today.
Wow.
And usually we really wouldn't, because everything just feels kind of cramped. So today it was like, hey, let's make some slime. It wasn't a complete success, but we still did it. We were like, you know what? We've got this glue where we can make it for clay. So now we're working on some clay. It won't go to waste. And so we worked on a lava lamp. But it was just like, and it was really just in that moment. Like, we were just there, and it, you know, struck me like, hey, let's do the lava lamp. My daughter had wrote down something about a lava lamp. And it was like, you know what? If she's curious about that, let's do it. Let's see how to make a, you know, a homemade one. We hadn't did it in a while. So, you know, you're right. It clears up that space where you can just hear more. And then, like, if you have kids, or you got grandkids, or you got nieces, nephews, you're able to hear what they're saying and connect to them.
Absolutely.
Whereas before, you're just so stressed. You're just thinking like, we got to get this done. We got to do this. We got to get this done.
Exactly. It's like when you really start to lean into it, I find that it creates this openness, and it's finding what that creative expression and outlet is. And it might start with like some adult coloring book, and really kind of go back, take it old school. What did you love doing as a kid that it's fallen away as an adult? But go back to it and just play and be curious and explore and see what that starts to open up for you. We're so like left brain, but that right brain with that creativity, that's that balance, and it's creating and having that balance. And sometimes we have to be intentional about it.
Yes, yes. So for someone, because I see on here, at times someone will write and say, I haven't gotten a chance to play with my dolls. I'm still here. I know I've been MIA, but I've just been, busy working, and I'm having a hard time figuring out how to schedule play.
Yeah, yeah.
What would be a suggestion for someone who is trying to figure out how to manifest play? It may be their first time doing it, or they've done a lot of photos and they've played, and whatever their form of play is, but now it's just life is kind of taking over.
One of the key things that I would recommend is putting it on the calendar. Schedule it, and treat it like a doctor appointment, a meeting that you would not cancel. So it's like in ink. It's not in pencil where you can come in and erase it. And another recommendation building on that is schedule it like the same day. Like if Thursdays at 4, every Thursday at 4, or every other Thursday at 4, so that it not only becomes habit, it becomes routine. And when you start letting other people in your family know, oh, this is what I do, I'm going to go for a walk, I'm going to listen to music, I'm going to let that creativity, I'm going to sit down and jot down ideas, but I do that every Thursday at 4 o'clock, 4 to 4:30. Now it starts to become your sacred time. And when you engage other people and they become protective of that time, that becomes your sacred time. So you put it on the calendar. It is non-negotiable. That's there. It sticks. You don't schedule other appointments on top of it. You don't cancel it.
Yeah.
You get to decide when you cancel it, since you are the owner, the creator of that, but scheduling it. And then you can expand the time as needed. You can incorporate other people in it as needed, as it becomes more routine. But it's really prioritizing you and that time.
I agree with that. I have a singing bowl. Oh, and actually, I brought it with me like one of my last conversations. And so, I'll pull out the singing bowl, especially like if I'm feeling tension or I mean, things can be going really, really good. But if I'm feeling tension, like I pull out that singing bowl. And I think it was last week or maybe earlier this week, I had the singing bowl out. It was this week. This week is still really, really, it feels kind of long. It's long and short at the same time. I pulled out the singing bowl and I had it going, and some of the kids were, talking, and I heard my oldest daughter, and she was like, hey, you got to be quiet. Dad said when Mom pulls out her singing bowl, you have to be quiet. Everybody has to be quiet. So you're right. Your family, other people will start to really guard your sacred time, and they'll respect it. And so, everyone else decided, hey, sis was right. They got quiet. But I was really, really grateful, one, that my husband had said, like, hey, this is Mom's time, and you need to respect that. And then I was very grateful that my kids understood how important that time is, and just being able to like soak in, the frequencies, and, just allowing that relaxation to come in, because it's really important.
That's so beautiful.
Relaxation you have.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. And I love that it's modeling that for them too. And showing them, it's like they may not realize it now, it may be years from now, but that sacred space that you created with them for you, and how that I'm sure they noticed the difference before and after you've had the singing bowls. But it may not register now, but years from now they're going to know, like, what can I do to have that? What can I do to create that feeling? What can I do? And it's just finding what works for them. But yeah, when you model that behavior and they co-sign it, it's like, that's it. This is how we do it now.
Yes, yes. And literally, you said the words that we have spoken to them. On our wall, we have little pink sticky notes on the wall of just different things you can do if you're feeling bored, or if you're, if you feel like you need some inspiration. It could be listening to an audiobook. It could be, like having the singing bowl come out. writing a prayer down, writing, reading affirmations, writing affirmations, things of that nature. Like we have all these little different things. And I told him, I said, these are things that, I mean, it was exactly what you said. These are things that I do
Yep.
that help me. And now that you're, growing up in our household, you also do it too. But the main thing is that, Daddy and I want you to get from it is learning what works for you.
Yeah.
So that when you get older, you'll be able to fall on that and be able to use that to keep that balance. So that is like literally the words that we use with that.
That's so beautiful. And that's such a gift. And that creating that, it's like creating that legacy and giving them space and permission. That's beautiful. I love that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And I mean, like, now we're talking about beautiful. I have learned so much from you, beautiful, because me renaming my page literally came from me listening to you speak about, this, anytime whenever you need to change, you're talking about paradigm shift. And you were just like, if you know that you need to do it, then do it.
Do it.
And so I'd been sacred para, the whole time. And I was really nervous because I was like, if I change it, people are already familiar with sacred para. I'm going to, confuse people and all this other stuff. And then it was like, just go ahead and do it because this is what we're talking about. And the main thing is about play, allowing your life and your environment to be your playland.
Yeah. And it's like, as writers, that's what we do. We write it out, we script it out, and it's like, that's not working, let me change it. So why can't we do that and apply that in our lives?
Oh my goodness, it's so true. It's so easy to, I mean, I say this loosely. It's easy to edit a character and maybe even change something. I mean, I do it with my characters in my books. I do it with my characters with my dolls. Okay, I'm going to do this, and then I go, oh, I think I'm going to change it around. And then it's really easy. But then in life, it feels so permanent. It feels like if I change this one thing, it's going to ruin everything else.
Right? And we start overthinking what other people are going to think and how they're going to respond. And at the end of the day, who cares? It's your life.
Exactly. Most of the people don't even care. It's just all up in your head.
Exactly.
It was.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that I have learned also from your page has been about boundaries. Yeah. And I find that play, like now incorporating play in my life, it has allowed me to really create healthier boundaries in my life.
Yeah. One of the things that I call it the velvet rope treatment. So when you go to a restaurant and you see that VIP area and there's that velvet rope there, and whomever is hosting in that VIP area, they get to choose who comes in and who stays out. That's how we need to conduct our lives. We're like open, like everybody has access. Not everyone deserves access to you. Some people deserve limited access, and some people just need to be on the other side of the velvet rope.
That is such a good one. I like that. I like that a lot. I do, because I feel now what I have learned when it comes to playing and just, being able to incorporate that more in my life. I'm wanting to have positive interactions in my play. I'm wanting to feel inspired. If I'm writing, and writing requires inspiration. I mean, we write sometimes from a place of woundedness. We write sometimes from a place of complete bliss. Right. So you need to feel inspired either way. But if I'm feeling like downcast, it's very hard. It's hard to think of a storyline, think of a plot, think of characterizations, anything of that nature. Anything of that nature. So it's made me and caused me to really value my space. Yes. So that I don't have negativity coming in on that level. Like some negativity you can't really do very much about. It's life. But as far as just inviting it in or being a doormat to it, it can't do it.
Can't do it anymore. And it's those boundaries, again, we feel uncomfortable, like what are they going to say? What are they going to think? But if someone has been in your world mistreating you, not respecting you, not valuing you, push them to the side. And it took me ages to figure out that it's like I can say no. I don't have to give, we're grown-ups, I don't need to give you an explanation. Can you come out to do XYZ? No, I can't make it. I don't need to give you the whole backstory about why, or make up a backstory because I just want to stay in my PJs today and watch Netflix. It's just, no, I can't make it. And being able to say no, being able to, I think I had so many different involvement from different organizations and activities, and I was just burnt out, stressed out, and it's like, you know what? I need to take some of these things off. And I started aligning my values. So if my value, I said my value was spending quality time with my family, with my husband, but I'm all over the place, running into, this organization, volunteering and supporting over here. What was my value, though? What did I say I valued? Having some quality time with my husband. So if this is not supporting that, something has to give. And once I really started circling everything back and connecting it back to what are my values, being happy and calm and having peace. Okay, so someone's going to be disruptive coming into my world. You can't be here now. You're not aligning with the program. So, and it's funny how when you start aligning with your values, some people just kind of disconnect on their own because they're like, well, she's never available anyway. No, I'm not available for crazy anymore. And that it frees you up so that you can have that space to create. It's hard. As a writer, I totally get what you're saying, because it's like when you are just burnt and spent, you're not going to come up with a creative idea. You are sitting there just adding more stress because you're trying to force an issue. But do you notice that when you're feeling alive and you're great and happy and the energy is good, the ideas, you're like, you can't write them down fast enough.
It's so true. It is so true. When things are going well, you get like that burst of inspiration. Yeah. And it does. It feels like it's just coming from everywhere. And like you said, you're not able to write it down enough. You're not able to, I go through storylines and stuff with hubby and stuff. So you're not even able to talk about it fast enough. Now we have incorporated videotaping ourselves when we talk. Because we'll get so many ideas and storylines, because he also writes, and so I'm waiting on him to get his book published because he has so many things that he talks about. I'm putting it out there in the atmosphere. So we'll have different storyline concepts and ideas, and we'll just talk about it. We'll videotape it, because you do get so many to where, how do you write it all? And even if you could write it, you're going to start writing on something else, and then you're going to not be able to complete the full thought.
Exactly. So that's so smart. That's so smart, because you're right. It's like you do that trick where I'm not going to forget. I'll write it down later. And then 2 hours go by and you're like, what was it now? It was something about what?
I do that. Now, a long time ago, before I met my husband, I used to just write on envelopes and write on the back of cards, greeting cards, and anything I could grab, tissue. I still do it every once in a while, but for the most part, I try to I still do it. I'm thinking about it. My God.
It's like whatever's handy. You're in the car. It's like you're. And then if it's just half a thought, you're looking at it like, what is EXP now? What is that?
Or if you write and you're tired, or if you're sleepy and go back, you can't read your own writing.
Yeah, I've done that trick where I'm just going to open up my journal in the dark and I'll write it down, and then it looks like a hostage letter.
I do that. One day, my husband told me, he said, what was going on with you? You woke up. And I wrote down Tupac Machiavelli. I think I wrote that down. And I was just like, no, I didn't. And then it was on a piece of paper, but it didn't even look like my writing. I was like, I have no clue. I don't know if I was dreaming about something. It was just like, let me write it. It did not look like my writing.
I've done that. Lies and deception.
Be a special person to be with a writer, because our minds are just 24/7.
Oh, nonstop.
It's like it's just it's continuous. It's just going on and on.
In the middle of the night, it's like, here it is. Yeah, there's the best idea right now in the middle of the night. And then in the morning, it's like, oh, it's not really what I thought it was.
Oh my gosh, I have had that happen. I have had that happen where I thought it was just like this is it. This is like phenomenal right here. Bestseller information right here. This is going to be great. And
Wait for it.
and then
Wait
yeah,
for it.
and then I go back and I look at it. I'm like,
It's a little sketchy.
This doesn't even really make sense. This doesn't really.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. I've done that.
Oh my gosh, that's too fun.
Now I'm gonna tell you something, since I've been doing my storylines with our dolls. One of the things that I love is being able to kind of hash out some stories. So I'm like, does this work before I actually put this in ink?
Wow. I love that. Your dioramas are so detailed. I love looking at them. They're beautiful.
Oh,
And like the videos, I'm like, look at you. I'm like, wow.
I appreciate that.
Oh my goodness.
I do. I appreciate that so much. Yeah, I'm over here learning from so many of the other, just fantastic dioramas and creatives that we have on here. They'll give me certain tips, or just like studying their page. I'm like, wow, okay, that's really, really nice. And not at all, not from like a copying aspect. It's just like giving accolades and how can I use what I have and in my style to make it work. But
there's
I love
there's a huge community. I was not aware. I'm like, all of a sudden I felt like this window opened up. I'm like, what is this? And it's amazing.
It is. It is. It really, really is. And we have such wonderful people in our doll community. I haven't had any bad situations. I mean, like some people may, but I haven't. I have to come from my own personal experience. I've really been able to just grow and evolve, being on here. It's been really, really helpful. I've met some really great people, and the feedback has been awesome, because before doing this, I used to do book signings, and then that's when you're like waiting to get feedback from people who may have already read your book and they just want you to sign it. Or they get the book and they go in the car and read it and come back and talk to you.
Wow.
so then you get the feedback then. But right here, I'm able to get direct feedback. So if I'm doing something with characters that work, they'll say it. If they don't like it and they have a question, I'm like, well, why is he doing this? Then it makes me go back and I'm like, is this something that needs to be addressed? Do I need to address that comment? And show it with the characters' interaction, change up the storyline? Or is this something that, they just need to stay tuned to in order to see how that plays out?
I love it. And I love that it's like, I can see you just like, you light up as you're talking about it. And I hope that inspires other people too, to like explore creativity and explore ways that they can continue playing, because like you were saying, as adults, why? We somehow just became, you have responsibilities, and it's like, why can't I still continue to do something that brings me joy like that? So I love what you're doing, and I hope that other people are inspired to do something, to like follow their dreams and do something similar.
Yes, I so agree. Can I bring up about the speaking engagements that you do, because you have it in your highlights?
Yes.
So you have done a Toastmasters speaking engagement with Mattel as far as storytelling. So that's why I say she is a play enthusiast, and of course your history is even deeper than that. Like I said, you have to go on her page. But what kind of information do you talk about when you talk about storytelling? What kind of information do you share? There we go. What kind of information do you share when you talk about storytelling?
That event that we did was actually directed towards kids, and it was helping them. Yeah, it was really cool. So it was structured so that kids could, either using dolls, we used Hot Wheels, we used Barbie, but for them to create their storylines and to give them the flow and the structure of telling a story. And but it's actually something too that could be translated to adults. you know, for those who just like, how do I tell a story? How do I engage an audience? How do I get people's attention? And so, I mean, the kids ate it up. They were just, oh, okay, they ran with it. And it was really interesting because they were different ages. I think there was like a 5-year-old to 12, and but they ran with it. We gave them the parameters, we gave them some story prompts, and they just were like, okay. And then they came back with these incredible stories, and it was really fun to watch. But it's like, as adults, we start processing. Well, what do I do with the story prompt? Oh, but what is it you want? What should I be achieving with this? It's like, no, just kids don't ask those questions.
No, they don't.
They just was like, what's the direction? Oh, create a story with this. Can I also include that? Sure. Okay. And then we'll give you X amount of time. Okay. And then they came back, and one kid, it was like a scroll. It's like, how did you write? Did you start this before the workshop? But again, it's that allowing yourself as an adult to just be, explore, be curious. Don't ask the questions. Take a story prompt and create a scenario. It's a great way. Take up. Yeah. Yeah, and it's like, do that with a problem. I encourage my clients, one of the things that I love about incorporating my background as a writer, creative strategist, is in the what I do for work, you have to find a solution. You are given parameters, you are given, this is the new product that we're coming up with, go have at it. It's not, we can't come back and say, that's not going to work. I was looking at that and I don't think, no, that's not not doing it is not an option. It's come up with a solution. And when you think of solutions and you have to come up with a solution, you do. So I challenge my coaching clients when they have a problem, okay, let's play what if. What if you did know the answer? What if it did work out? What if it, and it's funny how when they start thinking along those terms, just like the kids, now all of a sudden you've written down 10 different options. But when it's just, I don't know, it's, this doesn't work for me. What if it did? What would that look like? Oh, if you were telling your friend how to do it, what would you say? That always gets people talking too. I used that with my kids, and it would be like, I don't know what to do. And but if you were telling your friend, what would you say to him? Oh, I would tell him to, now you didn't even hesitate.
That is such a good one, and I'm going to snag that one. I am going to snag that one because I run into that oftentimes. They
bait it. It's like all of a sudden they're like talking, and I'm like, oh, so you did have okay. I see you.
I like that. I like that one a lot. Thank you, because we just got done writing our grateful list, and I had one that was just didn't really know what to write. I mean, I had a couple, but I had one that definitely did not know what to write, and yet that is the same one that has a lot of suggestions for siblings on what they can do. So
it's like, you already got the skill set.
And that is so good. That is so true. Like really, boosting up their skill set and letting them know, like promoting it to them. Because when you get older and you don't, if you didn't really get that, or you got it just for like one thing, like I was always told, okay, you're a good writer, you're a good writer, you're a good writer. And that's great. But what else am I good at? What else do I enjoy? So, like boosting up their skill set that you do see and encourage them to see more in themselves.
Yes,
it is
100%.
important. And I love too, before we end our chat, I love how so much of what you've shared has to deal with doing this inner work.
Yeah.
Like really asking yourself, you said like, what things did I enjoy when I was a kid? If things, already worked out, if it was already solved, what would I do right here? Just really doing that inner work, and even asking yourself, like, why do I have an issue with play?
Yeah.
Was it something that someone told me, or did I have a bad experience? Like, was I playing in a room by myself and the door got shut and I couldn't get out. You know, I mean, I'm just using like a far-fetched one, but it could have happened and I didn't know what to do. And so it, traumatized me where I don't want to play anymore. Or friends got mad at me because kids are kids. They got mad and wanted to play this way and I wanted to play my way. And we stopped being friends. And so I had a bad experience to where I don't want to play anymore.
Yeah.
So you're really asking yourself those questions.
And giving permission, I agree. Those questions it's really essential. And giving yourself permission. I have a friend who, as a kid, took violin lessons. And it was like after school when other kids were outside in the street playing, they said they had to do violin, homework violin. And so everything was structured, and that person rebelled so far because it was like, I want to do my own thing. So it was like, I'm just going to swing all the way over here to the other side and not have that balance. So it's like play took a kind of a toxic form in that situation. And so it's like really understanding what's healthy and giving ourselves permission. We don't have to feel every moment of the day achieving and striving and hustling. Sometimes it's just, I give myself, if play might just look like going out with some friends to a movie and having a good laugh. But I agree, finding what it is, what's meaningful, going back to childhood, what you enjoyed. I had a friend of mine when I was living in Los Angeles. He started this little program on a Saturday, and it was called Adult Recess. And we got together as adults and just did like those dumb games that we played as kids. And I'm sure we were like up in Burbank, and I'm sure people looking at us must have thought, what are they doing? Because we were standing there blocking arms, playing Red Rover and dodgeball and all these other little crazy games that we played. And it was the best time. It was just fun, and it was free. So it's just really going back to what is it?
I love that. I love that. Because when we played, it was always free. Nowadays, when you play, you have to pay.
Yeah, you have to pay. Exactly, that part. And then, like, even going to the gym isn't playing because you have either a motive. I want to be healthy. I want to look better. So now that's work because it's like I've got to, again, we're targeting different goals and objectives and ticking off boxes. So that's not even an outlet, because there's some other motive behind it. But it's just going back to that place where you find joy.
Yes. And I do understand that there are some people who may be viewing this or view it later, and maybe throughout their life they had a harder childhood growing up. Some people, they grew up in the system, and they really, didn't really have an easy childhood. They didn't really have a place of joy. So it can make it more challenging to now be an adult and try to figure out, how do I incorporate play? How do I relax? How do I laugh? And I even question like how to, and I used to work at an orphanage. And so I have, heard different stories from children as far as what their life was like.
Wow.
I really don't know what my suggestion would be for, helping someone to find their inner child if they didn't really have a child.
Yeah, I've not come across that either. So that's a really challenging one. That would take a lot of deep inner work, working with perhaps a coach, a therapist who specializes, because going into that particular childhood could create trauma. So, working with someone who can help be a guide in those situations, or you'd have to like almost create what that joy is as an adult, because going back into that type of childhood experience may not bring up things that it brings up for, those of us who can look back at recess as a fun and playful time.
So very, very true. So very, very true. And I also, what I shared with our kids, this is a little bit on subject, a little bit off subject, but I shared with our kids because they're all very creative, and I was just letting them know how important art is, whatever form of art that you have. And we have a Bible-based household, so we were talking about the Our Father prayer, and it says Our Father who art in heaven, and it strikes me deep every time whenever I say the words art, because and it's really been striking me hard here lately, because I'm like, he is all about art. And when I was like, this is why we got to travel, so we could just see all this artworks. And then of course his greatest masterpiece is us, being the art that we are. I remember going to church and how it was, in certain churches, art forms is just not really, really, it's not really, clapped upon. It's not admonished, it's not an important aspect, So if you're an artist or a creative, you can feel kind of down on the totem pole when you go to church, because you really don't feel like, I'm as important as someone who may be able to, fill this position or this seat. But yet, when we look at things biblically, so much of what is in the Bible and just around us, just breathing air. Who would ever think breathing air gives you oxygen? That itself is an art form. So just letting them know that art is important, that you being a creative is important, and to pursue it. And that actually came from the book, this whole conversation came from the book Where the Sidewalk Ends.
Oh,
and I can't think of is it Shelton?
Shel Silverstein, something like that.
Yes. It's one of my favorite childhood books. I really do like him as an author. And in that book, he has all these different poems, and he had a poem that stood out to my daughter. It was our middle daughter. I'm trying to think I can't even think of it was Unicorn. It's called Unicorn. That's the name of the poem. Check it out if you guys get a chance to. And I'm readjusting that. But this particular poem, she was concerned that it was blasphemous. And so we read it. And I was like, you know what, though? It's so good that you had that concern. Because you're asking questions. Yes. And that's what it's about. We're supposed to ask questions. Anytime whenever you feel that you can't ask a question, that's not, that's really not a good thing. Ask questions, find out. So we went back to the Bible, we read through it, and I was like, this is literally like a parable. This is almost answering the question of why aren't there any unicorns? And so, he gives this explanation in this poem, and I love how he did it. I was like, this is, spot on. And God allows us to be artistic and to explain things. Jesus used parables, and so he allows us to be able to use whatever form of creativity that we have. And so I guess I just put it out there so that people don't feel like, well, is it okay what I'm doing? And, does this really fit in with being an adult? Does this fit in with what, I was created for, my purpose? And it does. It still does. Because literally, he talks about art in the Our Father prayer.
But I love that you brought that art, because it's like that. I hadn't thought about that, and so my brain was just kind of like, "Ooh, that's really interesting." And then, as you were talking, it's like art. It's like it's an outward expression of something you're feeling inward.
Yes.
And so why why would that be bad?
Exactly. I see so many different artists, and I have a close friend of mine, close sis, and she's an amazing artist. She's a digital artist right now, and she's done watercolor, she's done oils, she's done pencil. And I think any form that she does is great. So a while back, she used to kind of like criticize her older work. She'd be like, oh, that's what I did then. This is my work now looks way better. And I'm like, I love your work. I love your work. Let me do it. Let me see if I can get the same kind of work that you did 5 years ago. Probably not. I don't think that we should downcast the work that we've done. And I know I probably do it here and there too, but don't downcast it, because it still has value.
It has value, and it shows the evolution. It shows your growth. And it's like we wouldn't look back at ourselves as a child and, I didn't know anything then. But it's like, no, it's like it shows that evolution and the growth. It's like and it creates this benchmark of where you've been and where you're going, and knowing that on this journey there's still room for growth and improvement. And it's not, like I said, it's not siloed, and we keep looking at it as I should be this. You know, I used to be an art docent for this program called Gateway to Art when my kids were in elementary school. And when they were explaining the program to us docents, the woman that created the program said that by the time a kid is 8 years old, they will have determined whether or not they are going to be an artist based on the work that they were doing at 10 or 8.
Oh, wow.
At 8 years old in elementary school. So like if they drew a picture and someone critiqued it, even if that kid had an interest in being, you know, exploring something in a creative career, they had already determined by 8 years old that they wouldn't be good at it. How would you be good at it? You're just getting started. You're learning, you know, how could you say, I mean, I would read books when I was, you know, 7, 8. I always had my nose in a book, and I knew one day I wanted to be a writer. And so I wrote my little stories, but those little stories are light years away from what I'm doing now. And I had people on the journey tell me, you know, you're going to be another starving artist. Writers don't make money. I'm like, yeah, well, yeah, we do. Yeah, it's possible. But it's, again, it's, you know, that messaging that we give, that critiquing, and then how we evaluate ourselves because of that, you know, that type of messaging that we received. You know, you're not good yet. You're not good yet. Keep going. It's like, rather than looking at an 8-year-old and saying, oh, that's not a good face, that's not a good drawing of a face or a person, you're not going to be a good artist, and, you know, you scrap up everything and push it to the side. Well, you can become better with, maybe you needed some better tools, and maybe you needed some guidance and instruction and training. But then we carry that messaging as adults, and that gets in our heads as we're creating. Even now, you know, it's like editing, you know, a million times. It's like, let it go, let it be.
Yes.
But it's, you know, that's a form of, you know, that messaging is a form of stifling play, and not, even before it had a chance to grow. And so it's being mindful of that messaging and who's delivering that. You know, who, in the case of like the 8-year-old, oh, that's not a good face. Compared to what? Are you comparing this kid to, you know, a Botticelli painting? It's like, you drew a face and you're 8 years old. That's a great face. You're
so very true. So very true. And then also, who's to determine what kind of style of art that you do? Yeah. Because there's abstract art, there's realism art, there's surreal art. You know, we got all these different art forms that are out there. So, you know, the way that child may have done art at 8, it may be a different kind of style. They may not be doing the portrait from a, you know, Mona Lisa kind of perspective. They may be doing it abstract.
Yep.
You know, we have one of our sons who will take, because he just did it recently, he took a Black Panther body and he put another object on top of the head instead of it being the Black Panther head. So he put another object right there. Well, I was like, dude, that's awesome. And then I started going in the phone, Googling. I'm like, see all these different statues and stuff. And, you know, you can have that and be them, because that's really like the art that makes people think and makes them, you know, have to do some of their own inner mental work and gawk at it and go, well, what does this mean? Exactly. What perspective was the artist coming from? So I'm like, art is in all different kind of forms and style. And you can't really say, like you said, you can't say at 8, like, oh, this is a horrible face, because we don't know what that child's going to develop into or how they're going to use that art form in order to become the artist that they're supposed to be.
Exactly. And it's just, you don't know what, by giving the right feedback, you know, and allowing and encouraging that child to continue to express themselves, you don't even know what doors you may have just opened, and doors that, and I'm talking about doors down the road, because you allowed them to believe in possibility.
Yeah.
And your son putting the head on the Black Panther, it's like, yeah, keep juxtaposing. That's problem solving. That's thinking creatively. We want to, not everyone is that round hole and the round peg and the round hole, square peg, square hole. No. And it's allowing ourselves, even as adults. So when you're, criticizing your work, criticizing, well, I'm not there, or comparing to what someone else is doing, that's their journey. Your journey might be taking a little bit longer. Your journey might get you to this one point, and then there's going to be a fork in the road, and you're going to go in a different direction.
It's true. That is so very, 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 very true. Because I've witnessed that in my own life from both perspectives. And then, of course, having to remind myself, because I'm human. So it's really easy to see someone doing something and them excelling at it, or me even in my mind being like, oh, I kind of like their story a little bit better. Why didn't I do this? But then, and I'm blessed with a husband who says, what you wrote is for the audience that it's meant for.
Yeah,
so
that part.
Because there's times when I'm just like, oh, if I would have did this a little bit different.
Yeah. It's listening
but I have to remember.
Yeah.
It's who it's meant for, and I have to come from my own style. What's authentic to me? What's authentic to my experience? So whenever we try to play or do things how other people do it, because you talked about toxic play, and I love that. I love that because we don't really get into how play can also be toxic. If there is no balance, or if I'm comparing, and we are on social media where it's easy to play. I mean, to compare.
Yeah.
So easy to compare. Especially when we start showing our faces. It's one thing we show our dolls. There's a whole other thing when you start showing your face, and then you start showing what you wear, and then people have their own judgments and their own critiques and their own thoughts and their own comparisons and contrasts. Instead of just being like, you know what, I love who I am and my curves and what I wear and my style and what how I dress. And I love how my stories are, and I love what I dress my dolls in. I have dolls, and I see some beautiful clothes on here, and I'm like, wow, that's so beautiful. But then it's like, does that even fit the personality of the doll that I'm writing? Does that fit their character?
Right.
No.
Right.
That's your doll. That's your character. That's great. That doesn't fit for theirs. Just like for me as a human, that doesn't fit for me.
Exactly. And I think that's, at the end of the day, that's what we need to do. Is like being okay in our skin, the good,
yes,
the bad, and it's like recognizing, here's where I'm at on this journey right now. Here's where I've been. Here's where I'm going. It's not over. And that your dreams aren't siloed. And it's like we said at the very beginning, you can create that plot twist.
I love that. Guys, you got to check out her last conversation on the page. That was your actually, that's pinned on the top of your profile. Check that out, or the top of her feed. There we go. Top of your feed. That conversation was so very enlightening. Now, for me, of course, having my kids, it took me about 2 days to get through. But don't come from my perspective, because my house is different. I got the 10 kiddos, and so as soon as I'm getting into it and I'm writing my notes, I've got somebody either showing me their work or, mom's quiet, so let's ask about snacks and...
I love it. My brain was blown when you said 10 kids. I'm like, wait, what? Was that a typo?
Yes,
Good for you.
Yes.
Good for you. What are you? How many boys? How many girls?
We have 7 boys and 3 girls.
Wow.
And our oldest is 14. The youngest is 1.5 years. He'll be 2 in June, beginning of June.
My hat goes off to you, girl, because I don't even know. 2 made me crazy. I don't even know.
Hey, I'm going to be honest with you. 2 was a little bit harder for me. I don't know why. Even when I look back now, even with the 10, I feel like I have more balance with 10 than I did at 2. 2 was harder. 3 was easier. When I hit 3, it got a little bit easier for some reason. And it may just been maybe... I can't even say maybe. They all need, the dynamics of their personality, and they all need each other to kind of balance. Now, granted, nowadays they do their little fussing thing and stuff, and then whenever they're getting along, they're quite loud and rambunctious. And I'm an only child, so to me, almost anything's loud for real.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Wow.
I remind them, I'm like, hey, only child, it's getting loud.
You're like, I need this place. I need a quiet place. Oh my gosh.
But I tell you, but then when it's quiet, now when I did the diorama today, it felt really, really good because I was like, yay. But then it got too quiet. So I had to put Alfred Hitchcock on. I was like, gotta put my Alfred Hitchcock on. I needed something going on in the background.
Like it's too quiet. That's funny.
Because he did comedy for a number of years. And I ended up joining him with comedy at a certain point in time. But when he was doing it by himself, he went out of town with another comedian, and he was like, it was just too quiet. He was like, I had to call you just so I could hear
Put
the
phone
kids in
on
the background.
speaker.
Just so you could hear.
Oh my gosh.
Like today, he had his earbuds in just really to hear the background noise.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. That is amazing. Oh my gosh.
But yeah, they're good kiddos. They really, really are.
I'm sure they are. They sound amazing.
They really are. And I talk to them often about story, and they share their perspective and their concepts because we have a lot of different dialogue and conversations. Or if we watch a movie, we'll talk about, what did they notice? What did they see? They're just very intuitive.
That's such a good skill to develop. I love that. I would do that with my kids. And it's, as when they were writing college papers, I think one of my sons, one of his instructors said, do you want to be a writer? And he goes, no. And he's like, because you write really well. And he's like, oh, I got it from my mom. It's just that conversation is like the way we talk and, look at, like you said, looking at movies, looking at TV shows, commercials, and just breaking it down. Yes. Yeah.
And it helps so much because we had something that happened today, and I can't even think of it. But even when it comes to the advertisements for medicine, getting them to see, like, you see everyone laughing and smiling, and they look like they're having like a really happy life. But listen to what this narrator is saying. Listen to the side effects. So now that we've talked about that's changed up so much. And I know what it was. We were watching an advertisement for, I think it was for mulch or for, it wasn't mulch. It was for feeding your plants. It was like one of something other grow for feeding the plants. And it was an interactive commercial. So you can actually make your purchase for the whatever it was, for the food for your plants. Okay. So if you notice, like on the commercial, their eyes would go to like the okay button because they'd be like, what else do I have to do? And they were like, nothing. But their eyes would go to the okay button for you to press. So I told the kids, I was like, that's actually like a marketing strategy because you're going to follow the eyes.
You're going to follow the eyes.
Yes. And they're like, oh, wow, that's so interesting. That was actually smart. But it's a way of like, because if I'm an advertiser, I got to sell. So how am I going to use
how do I lead them?
These actors in a way that gets you to go, hey, I know it was Miracle Grow. We need this Miracle Grow. And you just have them use their eyes because we've been studying on how do actors use their eyes.
I love that. I love that.
And so, when we saw that today, it fit right in line with what we've been talking about and studying. How do actors use their face and their eyes to convey the message?
Wow. That's such a great thing to teach because then they can really like tune into people too.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. So very,
that's amazing.
Very true. So very, very true. Where someone is saying, oh yeah, I'm great, but like everything else is just.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Speaking something.
Good for you. I love that.
Oh, I enjoy it. I do. I enjoy it. We have our times though because we're together all day, all the time. And I know they get tired of me, but I really do enjoy being able to hear their voice. I feel that, when we talk about creativity, so much of our creativity, and I love that you said it, it gets stifled. Our play gets stifled. Who we are creatively gets stifled, and it happens early on. And then we, in our, in our childhood, we may have been also the same people that stifled other people because we learned how to do that from the system and from our teachers. And so then we would find ourselves saying, oh, that's dumb. Why are you doing that? You still play tic-tac-toe? I don't do that.
Yeah.
We're 13 now. We don't play with dolls anymore. So now we've become our own oppressors.
Exactly.
Teachers don't do it anymore. Yeah. Adults don't have to do it because now we're doing it to each other.
Exactly. Or doing it to ourselves.
Yes. Yeah. I can't like him and play with dolls. I can't. I have to pick which one. Am I going to be, the sports-year-old, 15-year-old doing this, or am I still going to get on the bike and go to the park? I can't keep doing that.
Exactly. And and that's where, we hold ourselves back.
We do. So really this conversation is to encourage you, regardless of where you're at in your play, to not hold yourself back, to really get into doing some self-work so that you can connect to your inner child, because he's in there or she's in there. That little person is inside of you. Your childhood is inside of you. And if you didn't have a childhood, I agree with you completely. Contact a therapist in your area who you can trust and who's unbiased and who will be able to just walk with you and talk to you and really get you into a place of creating a childhood that you would have wanted to have, and still having that balance of being an adult. And if you haven't taken any pictures in a while or done anything fun in a while, that's okay. Just don't get out of that play mindset. Still play.
Excellent.
I have enjoyed our conversation. This has been...
Thank you for having me. This was wonderful. There was like, wow, the comment about art, and I've got some really good nuggets that I'm walking away with.
Oh, goodness, me too. I was over here writing notes. I'm serious. I literally, I listened to you when I have notes upstairs from when I was listening to your live, and I have notes right here from listening to your live from the last one.
Yay. Thank you. Yes. I'm so glad we were able to do this and to connect, and this was wonderful.
Me too. And you do have a program coming out, and it is Exhausted to Elevated. Do you want to share what that is? It's in April? It's in
April, launching on April 16th, and it's going to be a 3-day boot camp, but the 3 days are going to take place over 3 weeks. And what I'm going to share is help you create me time, prioritize what matters to you so you can focus on what matters, get back to your dream, learn how to create those boundaries, and using your calendar. So basically, it's own your time so you can own your life.
Ooh, that is so good. I love that. Own your time so you can own your life. I love that. I have a sis right now. She lives in Finland, and she had to undergo some surgery for her hands. And during that time, she ended up shutting down her bridal design business. And now, but she's feeling good about it because now she's like, I want to really, just invest my time into making polymer clay food.
Oh, wow.
It's miniature. And she was already doing like she was pushing them out already. And she was like, I don't know why I'm doing this. And now she's like, I'm going to make this into a business. So, it's something that she wanted to do, that she's been wanting to do. And now she's like, I can really just have better control over my time and do the things in my life that I want to do. So when you said that, that just really did spark, her face in my mind when you had said that. And I also want to let everyone know that you have a book, The Change. You have now, is that available on Amazon?
It's available on my link. So it's not available on Amazon yet. It's available through my link. And it's a compilation of stories from entrepreneurs who have overcome different obstacles and how. So it's kind of like a chicken soup for the soul for entrepreneurs.
Yes, yes, chicken soup. Oh my gosh, chicken soup for the soul is just very helpful throughout middle school and high school. So yes, when you said that, that does speak volumes to me. So if you guys would like to, and I definitely highly recommend you to go to her link so you can purchase that book, The Change, as well as stay connected to her page for the program, the coaching program, Exhausted to Elevated. That's April 16th. 3-day boot camp, you said, over a span of 3 weeks. Is this available and open to any and everyone, or are there limited seats?
Any and everyone? Nope. Yeah, unless it gets too overwhelming, then I'll limit seats. But for right now, it's open.
Okay, and they would register through the link?
Through the link, and that's going up this weekend. So
great.
Yeah.
Great. Well, I actually do have another conversation, even if it's just us just talking about writing and
Yes, I know. It's like always good to get like with fellow writers who get the process and all of the crazy that goes on behind the scenes with writing that people don't, it's like they read the outcome, they see that aspect of it, but yeah, it's writer's life is different.
Yes, and just understanding like how much you're writing, no matter if it's a short story or if it's a thick novel or if it's an article, whatever it is, it's still your baby.
Yep.
And you want to protect it. So so that's always like one of the bigger things for me as far as connecting with writers, in a sacred circle is, making sure that the writing is protected.
Yes.
And that ideas and concepts are protected. Because that's something that's important to you. It's something that, it's linked to your experience of who you are. And so whenever you can have someone who can, that's trusted and who can give you an unbiased, understanding of what you're writing. Because there's certain times that I may even write something and it's coming from my unconscious. It's like something that was that was so deep in there that I didn't even recognize it. And then I put it out there and someone gives me their perspective of it. And I'm like, wow, I didn't even realize it. I didn't even think of it that way. I had 3 characters in the book Wisdom and Folly. And my mother, I told her about, these 3 little characters. I think it was like Eva and Evelyn. And I can't think of an Evel. I think that was the name. And they're just like 3 old women that are just nosy and just chattering. And my mom was like, oh, did you get those characters from me and your aunt? Is that what you did? And I didn't even think of it that way. And I still don't think of it that way. But when she said it, I was like, I wonder if in my unconscious that dug up, that just, that came out. Like you said, it's this inner expression that comes out. That's what art really is. And so did that, was that seep so deep inside, but it needed to come out because it was still in there.
Exactly. It is. It's an interesting process, and how to be careful with that too, because I agree, having like those sacred writing groups where you get that quality feedback versus someone, why would you do that? Why would you say that? Why would you? And then it all of a sudden, it's like it just stalls the momentum that you had in that writing process. So yeah, I totally get that. Yes. And sometimes it's like, it's the characters are mashups of multiple people, because as a writer, we get to, throw the kitchen sink in there. And sometimes, it's going to look like somebody because they're like, they gave me a lot to work with.
I love you, Mommy, because I saw her on here. I love you, Mommy. But yes, some people, that you get so much to work with. It's like, this is such good material. I could use this. But true, I have my husband and I, we talked about doing stories just based off of the kids because they have so much personality in them, story-wise. So yes, you want to be able to have someone in your sacred circle who you're able to trust, where, whatever information that you give, whatever storylines that you have, any ideas and concepts, it can be shared, and not go any further than that. I spent time in counseling as far as, I graduated with psychology and went to school for social work, went to school for MFT for counseling. And so it's so important to me about, confidentiality. You know, like if it
Yeah.
stays in that safe circle, it stays right there. And then it's also important to me that, like you said, not being overly critical, not allowing, this person has such a great idea. Now I'm jealous, so I'm just gonna like shoot it down.
Right. Right. Yeah.
But just
Exactly.
really being like, that's a great idea. Like I want to see you do something with that. You need to publish that. You need to do this and that with it. Like being each other's cheerleader is so
Exactly.
important.
I agree 100%. And yeah, there's plenty out there for all of us. And we each have our own, the stories that come to us. You might have a similar story, but I might have a different twist to that same story. Even if we were given the same story prompts, we're going to write two different stories. It's,
Yes.
yeah. And I just had, with the whole chat AI, people keep asking me like, oh, are you worried that, as a writer, and I've played around with the chat AI, but what it lacks that writers have is it lacks heart. It lacks that personal story. Yes, you can put all the prompts in there and it will spit out a story. It'll spit out a script, but it's not going to have those little personal moments, like if you're talking about an adventure with a friend from school and how, the friend slipped in the mud, you laughed, the chat AI is not going to create that, or how that moment may have become a running joke between you and your friend. And, how we filter that in, for those different little nuggets like, oh, there it is again. I see it. She did it. She put that little mud story back in there that, create that little edginess and conflict. So, yeah, it's like right now, I don't believe chat AI can deliver that heart, those different stories, those different moments of how situations, events touched or changed our own lives. And so, yeah, it's like everybody can go on chat AI and think they're going to write a bestseller, but it's like, someone else putting in the same prompts might get the exact same outcome, whereas you and I taking a story prompt, you're going to go to an event that was meaningful to you. I'm going to go to an event that was meaningful to me.
I fully agree with you. When we look at history, we've always had some form of robotics, some form of animatronics. At one point in time, they had, I think it was like a little boy. I gotta ask the kids, but I think he has like a pencil. He's like, it was like one of the first robots,
Oh,
and he's doing a drawing, and he was an animatronic. So there's always been different times where our human ingenuity has been in fear of being replaced.
yeah.
And I believe that as creatives, we have to keep creating. We have to keep creating, because there's always going to be robotics. There's always going to be technology. There's always going to be some form of digital age.
Exactly. I agree 100%. And it's just not allowing that to be yet one more reason, excuse not to pursue your dream because, chat AI. Oh, no. Chat AI isn't going to tell your story.
So true. So true. So true. And your story has value. And I love, and this is going back to your last conversation, as far as just not knowing where life is going to take you, because you said about walking past that hotel and now being in the hotel and not knowing that life was going to take that particular journey, this particular path, and still going.
Yeah.
And so at some point in time, you're going to write your memoir. And there's going to be folks like myself, they're going to eat it all up. We're going to be like, oh, what'd you do right here? What'd you do right here? How did you get there? Well, how did you start? How did you originate? What happened at the very beginning of it? And so that's so important. Whatever your beginning is, despite not small beginnings, whatever your beginning is, keeping it going and going through the bushes and whatever the things you have to go through on your hike while on your journey of life, doing those things, because it all counts. And it's hard to see it while we're walking it out, but eventually when you're sitting there and you're writing that memoir, there is no AI that can walk out the journey that you've gone through. They're having to take tidbits and excerpts from this person's story and that person's story and compile it together, compared to you taking your whole life's journey and saying, now I have a better understanding of what the purpose was right here. I still don't understand this, but if I write it, maybe it will speak a message to you.
Exactly.
So
Exactly. And it's, yeah, that last weekend, that was quite an interesting mashup of events, but it really does show that you just keep going, and you may not know. You're 100% right. We don't know. And some of the things that, looking back, where, people with regret look back at directions that they should have made or didn't make. But even that, looking back, it's like, but all of this got you to where you are today.
yes.
You don't know, that regret of, oh, I should have done this. I should have made this choice, made this decision, taken this path. But you don't know necessarily, it wouldn't have gotten you to the same place. It would have opened up another door to another portal, taking you somewhere else.
Oh, that's such a good one. Such a good one. I do. I enjoy talking about. That's why we have to have this conversation again. I enjoy talking about portals.
We'll have to do another, just on writers on writing.
I do. I enjoy talking about portals because you just never do know. There's always another path. There's always some. I mean, because we live in this multi-dimensional universe, so it could go in so many different ways.
Absolutely, I agree. So it's like,
Oh,
regret is a waste of time thinking of what could have been. It's like, you're here, so why wouldn't you appreciate that?
But it's so easy to regret. I think again, society wise, we're almost like attuned to regret. And then when we talk, like I used to talk to my elders when I was really, really young. I was like 8 and 10. I was like, let me learn from you. Let me learn from you. And I grew up in this very eclectic neighborhood when I came to Kentucky. Just very, we had vintage going on and antiques, and then we had hippies. I think it was like the last of the authentic hippies. And I was like 8, 10, and hanging out with these 20-year-olds, and they had their bell bottoms, and they were just, free love, just love, and it wasn't so much from like a sexual standpoint, just we love
Just
everyone, and they were a very diverse group. My friend Tracy, she was, African American, and her boyfriend was like Hawaiian, and the rest of their friends for the most part were white. And then they had like very, just down to earth, laid back, Black American friends and stuff. And and in fact, she was African American, but she was also Indian too. So it was a very diverse group, and I was the youngest one. I used to hang out with them 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, and so.
Oh, geez.
And our mom just trusted like everything's gonna be fine. And it was just like very different time during that time. But it's so very important that you don't neglect who you were and where you come from, and because my story is gonna be different than what any AI can put out there.
That part, exactly. And to own your story. Just this is my story. This is my journey. Not always pretty, but that's got me to here today.
Yes, and I'm thankful for where I was at, only from the aspect being that I learned so much from them about just enjoying your life.
Yeah. Wow.
At that particular time, because then they got older, and they all changed.
Yeah.
They end up changing, because the responsibilities were different, and they end up having a baby, and they end up separating, and it just, it was kind of an ugly situation. But when I was around them, I would always ask a whole lot of questions, and asking those questions, I would end up hearing from, not so much from the hippies, because they were still young, they were in their 20s, but from the older ones, I would always hear about regret. Well, I regret that I didn't do this. Or, make sure that when you, are growing up, that you do this, that you do this. So then that can kind of instill in you this, oh, I got to take life serious.
Right.
I got to make sure I achieve this. I got to make sure I do this. And then you forget about playing.
You forget about
having
playing.
fun.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to regret. I don't want to, grow up and play so much that I end up, missing out on being successful.
Yeah.
I miss out on because someone in their 80s told me I don't want to grow up regretting.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And it's just, I think if you appreciate the moment, appreciate where you are in life, make time and walk that tightrope where you have that balance and you create play. And you have your responsibilities, but you have that balance, then you can live a life that you find fulfilling and meaningful so that you don't have regret.
Yes. Yes. I agree. I agree so much. Oh, I thank you so much. Well, sis, this has just been an amazing conversation for me. Like I said, I enjoy being able to talk to you about writing and about play. Ah, guys, follow her page if you're not already. If you are, then you already know what I'm talking about. We're definitely going to stay in touch. But I would love to have a conversation with you about writing and just talking.
Yeah, we'll make that happen.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm going to put your information about the Exhausted to Elevated program as well as your book. I will put that in the caption so that people can go to your link and be able to register. Thank
Excellent.
you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for your yes, and thank you just for everything. I thank you just for you being who you are. Like I said, you pulled me in like with the first conversation and chat that you had. I love it. I love it. And you just you really did break down manifestation in such a way where, although we were already doing things, and this is something that's already important to me about vision boards and manifestation, it's just that the way that you brought it just, I don't know, it just gave me this really warm feeling, and it helped me to connect even more from a woman perspective of how to make that time to vision, to make that time to manifest. And like I said, even when it came to my name change with this page, that was inspired by, I talked about it and never did do it. But when I talked to you, I just really felt that charge, like just go ahead and do it. Just do it.
Love it.
And then you smile with it too. You're like, just do it. Like there's nothing else to it. Just do it. It's like do it. I love it. Like literally, guys, when you go on the page and you do it, and you listen to her chat, you listen to her conversation, you feel such a charge. Like you just have such a beautiful spirit that just pushes you. It's just like, just do it. You can do it. Just do it. And it's just, like the ultimate faith without even knowing who's on the other side listening to you. You just give us such faith and belief in us to be able to get it done. So I don't know if anyone's ever told you that, but that's what I feel whenever I listen to you. I just feel like she believes in me to get this done. She has that, that confidence in me to get it done. So I thank you for what you do and how you're doing it, because it's inspiring.
Thank you. That means a lot to me. That means the world to me. Thank you for that. And sometimes you just feel like you're talking into a void and talking into your cell phone, and it's like, okay, I'm doing it.
We're listening because like I told you, I definitely received what you're saying in your past conversations, and I'll be listening to your next ones that you post as well. I don't always get a chance to listen to it directly on the live. I want to, like I said, I do have my household to balance as well, but I make sure to get on your page there to check it out. And it's been encouraging for me. I'm so glad. I thank you, because I got on your page from you liking one of my past conversations. And I thank you for that, because I'm telling you, we've been divinely connected, and it's been so very uplifting for me. I know that we just recently met, but even so, it's been very enriching for me.
Thank you. And the same. And I know this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning for us.
Yes. So I'm going to let you have the rest of your evening. I thank you and your family for allowing me to have this time with you. I appreciate you. And we will be staying in contact.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, sis. Good night.
Good night, sis.
Bye-bye.